Today we will be showing you how to prepare and assemble a chicken wrap. Before you begin, it is important to get your utensils and ingredients ready so you don't waste any time in class. Before you or your group members start cooking, ensure you are wearing your hairnet and your apron.
The soap, we need to go all through, rinse underwater, and then we do not use a tea towel. We always need to use paper towels to prevent contamination and any germs from spreading.
Every person in your group must be doing this.
I have two different cutting boards. Some of you may already know this, but to prevent food contamination, we use two different color boards. The yellow one is used to cut up raw chicken and poultry, and the green one is used to cut up vegetables and fruits and fruits.
Okay, it's very important to utilize all your group members. Not one person makes the whole chicken wrap. If you have 4 people in your group, okay, someone can start by cutting the chicken strips and getting this fry pan on the stove ready for cooking the strips. The other person can start by peeling and grating the carrots. So 1 carrot for the 4 people, and with the green chopping board. So again, while one person is doing the chicken on the yellow board, the second person can be doing the veggies on the green board.
One important practice to follow would be, as you can see, the cutting board, it can easily move. One practice you can have is just to wet a tea towel, just don't have too much water on it, but and you put it underneath the cutting board so that it doesn't slip. Okay, so I just put it under water and I really squeeze the water out of it. And I lay it flat. Under my board. As you can see, it won't slide as easily. I'm using a chef's knife. When using a knife, we need to be very, very careful. Blunt knives, they actually injure a person much more than a sharp knife. However, especially that you have people near you, do not waste your time. Pay attention on what you are doing at all times. You hold the knife in such a manner using the handle, and if you are carrying the knife across, you need to do so in such a manner, and you need to warn those around you when using a knife. So to cut the chicken breast, it's already has been measured. We are cutting it into strips. Okay, what we need to do, we place a plastic bag just for all your garbage and to be placed in. So I take my chicken out, I dispose of the garbage, and I begin holding my knife with the handle. My fingers need to be in such a way just so that I do not hurt myself.
Remember, you're also cutting for 4 people, so when you're cutting your strips, just keep into account that you'll be dividing it by 4. While one person is cutting the chicken, the other person can start grating the carrot. So when grating, it is very important not to grate towards you, because you will grate and cut yourself. It's very important to grate away from you. Okay, so go around the whole carrot.
Guys, as you can see, this chicken strip is a bit too wide, so we'll need to cut it in half.
Once you finish peeling the carrot, put all your peelings in the rubbish. Okay, and using your vegetable knife, just cut the end of the carrot off. Okay. When you get your grater out of your cupboard, make sure you use the bigger holes, not the smaller ones. Okay, in order for you to do this. Now again, holding onto the top, putting the pressure down on the board and start grating.
And you do need to be very careful with your fingers when doing this task.
So keep your fingers away from the grater.
Now I need to remove the chicken, place it onto a plate to take it to my stove so I could cook it. The way I do this is like that, okay? My knife, I do not place it in the sink. It needs to be washed with hot soapy water, and this cutting board should not be used again because for cross-contamination, we need to wash it before we could use it for other types of meat. So I will be washing my knife and washing my chopping board. So using hot soapy water. Under no circumstances should you leave your knife in the sink because it's very dangerous. We do need to use soap. Ensure that all germs, to minimize germs from spreading. Just place it here for 1 minute before I dry it off. I'll just get a detail. The way we dry our knife, we never use the side of the blade because that could injure our hands. It's always this side of the knife, and we hold always with the handle, and it just broke. Okay, I would need to tell the teacher about it when this happens. Okay, and put it aside, because if we do not inform the teacher, an accident can happen to someone else. So I am going to put this knife to the side and inform the teacher about it so that it can be removed. Behind you, Miss, as you can see, I just told Miss I'm behind her and I've got a sharp knife.
Just so everyone's aware.
Holding, just so that she's aware. Okay. I'll just place this knife here for now.
Alright, so I'm up to my last little bit of my carrot. Don't go all the way to the end because you will hurt yourself. Once you feel like you're getting too close and it's getting dangerous, just remove the last little bit. Lift up your grater. Don't touch it with your fingers, it's sharp. You can just remove some excess of the knife. Making sure when you do this, you use the back of the knife. Okay. Bit hard to get it all out, that's pretty good. So then what you do using your knife, you can just put all the carrots into the
back side of the knife again that we are using, because otherwise the sharp blade, it would get damaged and turn blunt. Okay, so now we have our chicken ready. We have our carrots ready. Miss, what we might do is I can cook the chicken whilst you continue cutting the vegetables. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys to take your chicken ready to the stove, and we need to turn on the stove. When placing the pan onto the stove, you need to ensure that the handle is to the inside of the stove, just so that when people are walking around the kitchen, they do not, tip it over and injure themselves. So we need to turn that on. Let me see. This applies there. Okay, so it's this one here.
Okay, while Miss is turning on the stove, I'm going to thinly slice the tomato and the Spanish onion. So I've cut the tomato in half, and what you want to do is actually remove the top of the tomato by just cutting it out. Okay, I didn't have to wash my chopping board in between because there was no risk of the cross-contamination there being carrot and tomato. I've just cleaned it up a little, but I didn't have to wash it. Then you've cut it in half, then I'm thinly going to slice. Now again, watch your fingers, okay? And try and cut your tomatoes so they're consistent and into a size that will fit into your wrap.
Okay, we're just waiting for our pan to heat up a little bit. We need to place 1 tablespoon of olive oil. So we need to get a measuring spoon, which we had forgotten organize earlier. This is 1 tablespoon. I place it and I wait for my oil to heat up a little bit. I ensure you always hold the pan with the handle. I spread the oil.
Okay, so while the other person is cutting their veggies, I've now moved on to my onion. The recipe actually asks only for half an onion between the 4 people. So you can cut 1 onion in half and give the other half to another group. Okay, so I'm just cleaning it up, taking all the peeling off. So while cutting the onion, don't cut the core of the onion at the back. Just easier to control the onion when you're cutting it. So as you can see, I've already cut some going across. Okay, so now I'm going to let go, watch your fingers again, and let's cut some strips. Now these are a really good size for a wrap. They're not curved. You might see people at home or your parents cutting an onion a little bit different, and you might find that it's more rings. We're not cutting them as rings, we're cutting them more as strips. Okay. And then that way you don't have to go right to the end and you don't use the core, you can throw that.
Right now I'm cooking my chicken. I waited for the oil to heat up a bit and then I placed my chicken in there. I'm using a pair of tongs. Under no circumstances should you leave tongs in there because they can heat up and again you can injure yourself. Basically, I need to get that browning effect, browning process happening. Chicken must be cooked right through. This is the plate which I had the raw chicken in. I need to remove it and I shouldn't place my cooked chicken in there again because of cross-contamination. As I said earlier, chicken needs to be cooked right through and it should be cooked very well to prevent food poisoning from happening. You know, sometimes you might see meat. Some people, they would ask for the steak to be, cooked rare. But with chicken, we can't have that.
So I finished grating the carrots, cutting the tomatoes and cutting the onion. After that, you have to wash your lettuce, okay, and make sure there's no dirt in it, nice and clean. Okay, and then put the lettuce into a strainer. Okay, you can then put the strainer into a plate and let it strain for a little while before we cut. Just a couple of minutes. Take it over, and again we can use the same board because we're still cutting veggies. All right. Okay, so with the lettuce, it actually asks for 2 lettuce leaves. These are pretty big. Obviously the lettuce that I bought was a big lettuce. So I might just use the 1 big leaf instead of 2 small. It's very important to wash and clean as you go. So rather than me just standing here with my grater and my plate, I might as well take them all to the sink and wash them. You do have, the extra person or 2 in your group that might be standing and not doing as much, so get them to do the washing. Be really careful when washing the grater. It is a sharp utensil.
Again, guys, when you are cooking food on the stove, you should always keep an eye out on it. Do not leave. Always have one person looking after the chicken or whatever's cooking on the stove.
To somebody else not doing anything, you could ask them to get the tea towel and to possibly start drying the dishes.
Remember, you are marked on this task and you do need to work collaboratively in a team and in an efficient manner. You only have 60 minutes to finish this. 20 minutes would be for cleanup, so the quicker you do it, the quicker you finish and the better marks you will get. You need to ensure that all equipment is returned to the correct placements. As you can see, guys, it's been a few minutes cooking the chicken, but it still does look quite white. So we need it to be brown, the surface of the chicken to be brown in color. So it needs, I'd say, a few more minutes before it's ready. And the reason we cooked it thinly is to cook right through.
Now I'm going to start by slicing my lettuce. Because it's such a big leaf, I have curled it in. And then again, watch your fingers. Okay, it's always best to have your fingers down and this part a little bit over the nail, so that way if you're going to touch anything, you might touch that but you won't cut yourself. Okay. Alright, I can now put the lettuce on the plate with the onion and tomato. We're not worried about cross-contamination here. They've all been washed and cut, and they're all veggies. Okay, again, we won't leave our knife sitting on the bench. Now that we've cut everything, we will take all our equipment to the sink and wash them straight away. Okay, it's really important to clean as you go, otherwise you'll really feel the pressure and see the mess at the end. You'll also lose marks for not keeping the bay tidy.
As you can see, guys, my chicken has changed in color and it's ready because it has a brown surface on both ends of the chicken strips. So I am going to remove my pan from the stove. I'm going to turn my stove off. I'll need to have the knob onto 0, and it's the second one. You can see it here. Okay, so I'll just move it onto 0. I will not clean my stove now. I would allow for it to cool down before I clean it. Okay, I need to remove my chicken, holding on to the handle, move it onto the plate. You should not move your pan onto the preparation area because the pan is hot and you would not want any injuries to happen. So the safest thing to do would be to remove the chicken onto a clean plate and have it ready for the sandwich assembly. Okay. Behind.
Okay, so I've now got a whiteboard, which is a board that we can prepare on. We don't cut on that board. Okay, so let's have a look at our recipe. So we've cut this chicken into strips. We've cooked it in a fry pan until slightly golden. We've then peeled and grated the carrot. We've thinly sliced the tomato and the onion. We've washed, drained and sliced the lettuce. And now we're up to assembling the chicken wrap. So the first thing it asks us to do is place the lettuce on the flat bread. So per group you get 4, or depending, so if you have 4 people in your group, it's 1 chicken wrap each.
And guys, you are going to be marked on presentation, so bear that in mind. You would have access to your recipes before the recipe is to be made in class. So think about ways that you would like to present your sandwiches.
Okay, so we have our mission wrap on the board, and then it asks us to place lettuce on flatbread, followed by the carrots. Okay, so we'll start by putting some lettuce. Now remember what you have, you're dividing by the 4 people in your group.
And if I was to prepare the sandwich, I would need to wash my hands because I've been using and cooking chicken. So I'll move and wash my hands so I can help Miss. Again, I'm using dishwashing detergent, or actually washing the hand detergent to wash my hands, and the sink.
Okay, it then asks us to follow that by carrots. All right. And then tomatoes. Okay, remember, don't overfill and think, oh, that's more for me, because when it comes to presentation, you might struggle with getting a nice, neat presentation. It might all fall apart. We follow that with the cheese. So I've put 4 slices of cheese on this plate, and that's 1 slice per person. So you could break that and split that up. Okay, and then onion, and then the recipe also says that you put some ham in there, so I'll show you. So the onion goes there. Now, if you don't eat a particular ingredient, so if you're allergic to it or you don't eat it, don't cut so much of it. You know, think about wastage. So if your whole team doesn't eat onion, don't go and cut up an onion if no one's going to eat it. Please consider. So after the onion, it asks for the ham, and then to drizzle with mayonnaise, salt and pepper. So we won't be drizzling because our mayonnaise isn't squeezable. We're using the jar. So what Miss Katsy just did is put a little bit of mayonnaise into a little bowl with a spoon, and we'll spread it rather than drizzle. You'll then have a piece of ham also per sandwich. So the way you've got the 4 cheese, you have the 4 ham, and you can, well, the size is pretty much perfect, so you could just lay it there, or you could cut it in half if you didn't want so much. Okay, you can lay that across. Now we forgot to put our chicken, so what I'll do, I'll just remove the ham. I might put the chicken there first, and then put the ham on top. So again, splitting your chicken into 4. Into about 4 people, just spread it out. Okay, then put your ham. Okay, and I'm just going to spread a little bit of this. Now it does make it easier if we drizzle, but this is what we have to work with. Don't mix spoons with your mayonnaise and your tomato sauce. If you don't eat one or the other, you can just put the one that you eat, that's fine. Alright, and then you're ready to wrap. Now, depending on the way you want to present it, will also depend on the way you want to wrap it. I can wrap it without closing the ends, or I can wrap it by closing the ends. It might just crack a little bit if you do, so you just got to be really careful. Okay, you then need to think about presentation. So whether you want to present it on a chopping board or whether you want to present it on a plate.
Present it on something like this,
yep.
to give it the rustic look. With a toothpick you could put on it to hold it in place, or you could have a string to tie it up, a white string, just to give that. You could cut it in half, put one on top of the other.
I might actually get a knife and we'll show you how that's done.
But we need. This is a bread knife, guys.
the bread knife, you can tell when it's a bread knife, it has that type of finish. All right, and it always looks better to cut on an angle than to cut straight. So you could even do more of an angle than what I've done there. And
one on top of the other. Perfect. Beautiful, miss. Well done.
excellent.
Okay, another way, saying that spread, we don't have the drizzle. You could, if you're going to eat your sandwich immediately, because otherwise it would soak up, we could apply the spread at the beginning when making the sandwich. So there's no right or wrong in doing this, it's just different ways. It's just easier, I think, doing it this way, only because the mayonnaise is not in a nozzle bottle.
Now it's up to you if you want to add salt and pepper. So they can always have, they'll be ready for you to use if you wanted to add any salt and pepper.
Actually, we might have some salt on the chicken.
While the assembly is happening, the other person can be also drying and packing the dishes if they haven't been done. Because don't forget, when you finish making your wraps, you've got more dishes to do.
My ham and slice of cheese broken in half. A little bit differently to the way Miss has done it, just to see, similar to Lebanese bread. Miss, would we have any knots at the back, any ties?
So to be creative and to actually finish off things nicely, try and remember this while watching the video at home, so you can actually pack
just like they're cotton ties, special for sandwiches, and you could apply a tie down this end and a tie down that end, and then you cut the sandwich in half at an angle, so that way you're ensuring that it's not going to come undone. Bon appétit!